if you're a founder listening to this, like breaking the thirds, like if you are attempting to go about fundraising, right, and you don't have revenue, you don't have a working product, and you can't prove that you haven't sold it to anyone, right? You can't prove the usage, right? It's a non-starter, right?
It's no longer 2021.
Right.
Yep. Also going to break the fourth wall. No longer 2021 is really what you're saying too, because you could, and some founders who are second time or who have relationships, they still can.
Yeah.
But the idea of raising off of just the idea, unless you're going to an accelerator, or again, you have some other advantage, going to fundraise, it's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah. Having done it, and having gotten the TechCrunch article, which is what so many people do it for, honestly, it's like a PR thing. It's the PR. It's to say that you did it. It's to have, and that's like, it feels good.
Yep.
But
it does validate it for future team members that like, oh, there's money. Even clients sometimes like to see that, okay, this thing isn't going to disappear tomorrow.
Yeah. I just think it's way sexier now that I've done that. I think it's way sexier to build.
Well, let's talk about what's hard about bootstrapping though, right? So if we're going to give that advice,
right?
I'm assuming when you built your agency, you had, what did you do before?
I just started as a freelance contractor.
So I'm sure you had like a few concerns about money. You unlike raising, you can even pay yourself a small salary at first. Stressful. Yeah. Also, like, you were putting, I assume your agency was named after you.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's stuff around branding and, like, okay, how are you doing this that feels hard? Mm-hmm. Would you tell people that actually it's just not as hard as you think? And actually, are you saying something like the venture path is just as hard? You just have to, like, believe that?
If you tell a venture investor that the reason you're raising venture is because you want things to be easier, and less stressful, non-start.
But do you feel like people overrate how stressful it is to start things bootstrapped? Like your agency, right? Would you go like, actually people would be surprised?
No, I mean, everyone experiences like stress different because it's an emotion, right? And so like I think some people are more pain tolerant to that than others, right? And I think that the longer you're in it, like at first, the tiniest fires feel like the end of the world and you're a failure and it's awful and you think everything is going to go away tomorrow, right? And then over time you realize that...
Which isn't untrue also in the venture path. So like if that's true for you as a bootstrapper, that's true. I guess what do you think is different? What do you think... okay, so we talked about some of the benefits on the VC path.
Yeah.
Some of the benefits on the bootstrap path feel obvious. It's like you own more of it. You don't have any bosses.
Sure.
To your earlier point, you're going to find product market fit better because you're not using money, you're using validation.
Yeah.
What else is different though about the two in your mind, having done both?
I think that, so for me right now, it's actually like, I think the reason why I want my next business to be bootstrapped is actually just like a sense of, I like the challenge.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think Marpipe is doing great right now. We have product market fit. We're going to scale it, right? And the way I look at venture, it's almost like, okay, you went to college because you wanted the degree, which is the stamp of approval, but you're not actually using anything that you learned in college in your day-to-day, right? It's just you do it because you need to do it because everyone else, it's like the base level qualifier, right? I think for an entrepreneur, ventures look like very much in that way. It's your bachelor's, right? And then
well, it's funny, there's some other stuff too, because like I think college is valuable for like socialization and normalizing people and all this other stuff. And venture somewhat too. I do think venture founders have a different community relationship to bootstrap founders, although that's changing. I think bootstrappers are finding each other and sharing advice differently.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the biggest reasons why I want to do it are the most obvious ones, right? Which is like, I don't want to have a like a board of directors to report to. I want to like take whatever risks I want. I want to be like, I'm going to run it exactly how I want to run it. I'm going to pay myself what I want to pay myself, which I can't do today.
Yep.
And
you can. You just might have complaints. Well, it depends how many people are on your board.
Right. I can. I choose not to.
There's a different sense of obligation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, I want to like triple click on that. I do think, as much as I even have the opinion that like I'm a hard-nosed person and VCs are not value add, I still feel a huge sense of obligation to the people on my cap table, to the people on my board.
Which in and of itself actually might add value to the business because it makes you a more disciplined operator. Right?
True, but it also makes you maybe, to your point, risk averse or and this is where it really depends what you're building, I guess, right? Because it makes you different in all sorts of ways.
Right.
And so you have to be conscious. What are you building? This is probably why it's great that, other than the economics not being venture scale, but the agencies are not with like most of your equity going away, because in an agency, you are so much of the product.
Right.
And you are that way for a long time before you train other people to be the product. And retention of those people is way more important if they become really big client directors, for example, than they would be if you were building a SaaS business, because in the SaaS business, the product is the product.
Right.
The CS director is more replaceable. But in an agency, that person is leaving is a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
The book of business being, that person's is a much bigger deal.
Right. My next thing, I want to do something that I think it would be impressive to myself.
Yeah.
Which is like, I want to have venture level scale and growth in a tech company that is bootstrapped.
Yeah.
Like, that just sounds sick. Doesn't that sound badass?
100%.
Doesn't that just sound fun?
As soon as you do that, I'm gonna be like, hell yeah, Dan, go.
Right. It sounds fun to do, and it's a challenge, and
it's righteous. I don't know why it's so righteous. Is it just because I have spite? Is there something else that's going on in my brain that I'm like, yes, Dan, go.
Right.
Like from the sideline, I'm like, here, just take free money, don't raise. Just
ironically, every time I tell investors that, they want to invest in that thing.
Of course, right? It's like the exact opposite.
Yeah.